We are taking a closer look this morning at the opioid epidemic. Just last week, New York's Attorney General sued opioid makers and distributors, including Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, alleging fraud. The companies deny it, but there's no denying that opioids are a major problem in the U.S. The CDC says opioids are responsible for more than 67% of all overdose deaths. Yahoo Finance Editor-in-Chief Andy Serwer back with us for more. Andy, I know you have been digging into this. Purdue in particular is privately held by the Sackler family, but there are a lot of publicly traded companies here who face a lot of liability.
Yeah, and the chances are you might own one of these stocks either directly or through an ETF or a mutual fund, because yes, Sackler is pharma, Purdue Pharma is privately owned, but then there's Johnson & Johnson, there's Endo, there's Teva, and then there's the distributors like AmerisourceBergen, McKesson, and Cardinal Health. So there's a whole bunch of high-profile companies that are facing litigation from various government agencies and private litigation with regard to manufacturing or distributing opioids. And of course, hundreds of thousands of Americans have died over the past decade and a half.
What about the companies that are offering treatment for those who are suffering with this disease? Are they perhaps an opportunity for investment?
Yeah, that's what I was looking into also, that maybe you invested in these companies that are part of the problem. What about companies that are potentially part of the solution?
Right.
And there are a bunch of them. First of all, there's basically three classes of drugs. There's methadone, which has been around forever. That's a very inexpensive treatment right now. It's sort of a generic, costs $1 a day, and there's companies like Pharmaceuticals that are there. But then there's two other categories. One company called Alkermes, which makes Vivitrol, which is an injectable medicine. That's very expensive. And actually, Kamala Harris has called for an investigation of that company because of marketing practices. They're based in the UK. And then there's Indivior, which is a company based in Virginia that has Suboxone. And that company has struggled a little bit because there's now a new generic version of that drug out there. But the real opportunity is that these treatments are not widely available, Alexis, in the United States. So the thinking is that when they do become widely available, this will be a huge opportunity for these companies and might make for a good investment. You should check these companies out very carefully, but I think it's worth doing.